number one is for me innovation. And I think we have done so much progress in the last years. And you could see this also. Some airlines have invested more in new aircraft and others have done less. And I think it's also the role of good regulation and the regulators to give incentives for the companies which invest, and the others have to pay probably more. I can say for TUI, we have invested before COVID in new aircraft, so we had really a rollover of our fleet. So we have been, I think, the most efficient airlines in Europe with the UK aviation, so with TUI Airways in the UK, but also with TUI Fly in Germany. And I think this was something we believed always that this rollover is very important for our sustainable footprint, for sustainability, but also, for the business, because at the end you use less fuel and so on, and you are more carbon efficient on this topic. So we had a rollover. We have not a A321, A321 neo fleet. We have a Boeing fleet of 737 fleet. But I think a number of airlines have invested, others have not done. I would say the regulators can strengthen this process in a way that they give incentives for the companies to invest. And also the airports can do this. You can manage public traffic to the airport. In general, I would say it's important to have bold targets. And I said yesterday, 2050 is too late. 2050 is a political declaration, it's a political target. And we follow this declaration, and I know also what our associations have discussed and committed. But in TUI, we decided very early for the science-based target process. A lot of companies talk about compensation. I'm personally not a fan of compensation because the carbon is in the air. I strongly believe in the responsibilities of the company, in innovation, and that we should use the latest technology in the companies. And we worked very hard. We used also a partner for all this analysis we had to do before we could commit to the Science-Based Target Initiative. This was done with Roland Berger, so they identified all our numbers in the airline business from baseline was 2019. And then there was the roadmap created for the bars for the, let's say, next step, 2030. So we will now, we have 2030 targets. This is for aviation, minus 24-25%. And we have to report every year. And this is also something which is very important, to be transparent. I think in sustainability, you've seen in the last years, a lot of messages, a lot of storytelling, but it's about transparency. And there might be also a time where you cannot reach a target, but you should explain it to the public, and you should explain it, that's transparency, and then probably people will understand why you can achieve something or can't achieve it. When you look at aircrafts, there is a duopoly with Boeing and Airbus, so all the airlines are quite reliable on they have to follow also the technology and the innovation of this two big companies producing the aircraft. But I think it's also on us to be in a regular contact with them, to support them and to push them that they understand what are our needs for our business. And I see another interesting chart now here. I think it's also behind me. It's tough. Yeah, it's quite important. So we started also in doing first contracts with Cepsa here in Spain, really to get sustainable fuel. There is not enough sustainable fuel available at the moment. It was in the past also something about the pricing of sustainable fuel. But I believe progress is so fast now in all these topics. When you think about solar panels 5 years ago or 10 years ago, the return on investment was much longer than today. And we should not judge on things in 2020, let's say 6, 2027, 28 with the knowledge of 2020. 3. And that's why I believe we should be very open with the technology. We should be give this also to the private sector. We should not regulate what is the right way in which technology. This is better in the hands of the private sector, because at the end the private sector has to do investments, and probably most of the companies will do the investment where they believe they can benefit from this. So I'm quite confident that we will be faster in general than 2050. So probably for our target, which is certified for hotels in the Science-Based Target Initiative, is 46%. This is what was certified with numbers of 2019, and during the process in 2020, 21, 22, the internal target, the internal goal we gave is let's have 100%. Let's focus on 100%. When we had our global leadership meeting last year, it was in Spain. It was Frontera. Well, I said at stage, okay, we have the 46% which are now certified by SBTi, but is this ambitious enough? Is this bold enough? Let's go for 100%. And that's now, I would say, the objective, the ambition for the company. You all know in the room, whether it's in politics or in business, you have to bring some pressure in the system, that people really go for it. And I think in TUI there is now the right pressure, because we believe it's our responsibility, and it's something we should do in partnership with the destination, which is also very important for us. It's nothing you can decide in a headquarters. You have to work with your partners. You have to learn what is possible. You have to, well, you have come just that education for colleagues, for customers, for people. You have to train on it, and you have to listen. I mentioned yesterday the visit in Rosetta last week. Yeah, we heard about the green hydrogen plant. I think 10 days before, during ITB, the minister mentioned it. Okay, can we visit? Can we get an impression? Can we understand what is possible? And now we are working. After his speech this morning, we had a follow-up meeting. We discussed what we can do with hydrogen transport in Palma in the next probably years, but probably we can have a test this year. Let's see. I think it's very important not only to follow this long-term target. It's fantastic to have a 2050 target, but if you talk to your family, to your children, if you talk to your people in the company, when I give promises for 2050, what will they say? Thomas, you are born in 1967, probably in 2050, you will be retired. You can promise everything. And therefore, I think it's so important to go step by step and not wait for the long-term ambition. Doing, every day, every week, every month, do every step, and well, learn with every step, and then you can go for the next target.